This is In the Dirt with ASOTU.
Did you just go flying?
I did.
You went flying out there?
I
was
just
it
said
amazing fun?
It was awesome. I was so nervous about it. Everything out of my comfort zone. I don't like heights. I don't like anything adventurous, basically. And then but I loved it. Now I feel like I'm gonna maybe consider jumping out of a plane.
She's gonna go out of a plane. She's gonna go bungee jumping. She's doing the Rockies.
Yeah.
She's got the whole
wingsuit.
Yeah.
Well, we're hanging out with Carla and Carla Cosenzi.
Cosenzi.
Whoa. Wow, she said Cosenzi because she's from Boston. I should have known. With Tommy Car Auto Group here with In the Dirt. We got Michael Cirillo, my man, hanging out. And we're hanging out at the 800% Automotive
Elite Automotive
Club.
There you go.
Retreat.
Retreat.
Elite thing, which is at iFly, and we were just talking about Carla was going flying. So this is what's interesting to me, because I find that, you know, when I talk to dealers across the country, no matter where they're at, there's kind of this when you go to the dealership, most dealers, people, they're kind of laid back and everyone's, there's a little bit of energy there, but there's a laid back. But when people when people go to NADA, events with Glenn Lundy, or basically anyone else, we start to see the adventure come out. But you're saying you're not actually kind of that adventurous person normally.
I'm not adventurous, and people definitely would not say I'm laid back at the dealership. For sure.
It's like you're crossing that.
I've been on the weekly calls, by the way.
Yeah, that is the last thing that people would describe me as at the dealership, would be laid back.
That's awesome. Okay, so
I'm at the opposite end of the
what
spectrum.
does not laid back look like for you on a daily basis? Because a lot of people can kind of take that at first glance, and people take, oh, must be a slave driver, right? But I don't think that's
smiling all over.
She's like, oh, watch. But what does that look like for you on a weekly basis to not be laid back in your organization to drive success?
Well, I have to work really hard to slow myself down and organize my thoughts and prioritize what I have my team focused on, because otherwise I have so much going on in my head and so much I want to accomplish, and as they would say, nothing's good enough. I always want more and more and more. So I work really hard in my own head to slow that down, organize it, and filter that through one-on-one meetings with them.
Has that always been your mode of operation?
No. No, I was like that crazy person shooting off emails did you do this? Why isn't this done? What's going on with this?
Okay.
Where is this? And I found no one had direction, knew where to put their focus. They'd start on one task and they'd get another email or phone call, and then they'd head this way. And no, it's taken me a really long time to get to that.
And go back even further, teenage version of you. Were you still a very
neurotic.
Yeah, gotcha.
Top of the class, college,
so, but this is interesting.
School, type A all the way.
The reason I'm interested in this, because I think a lot of people can actually identify with that. Just kind of but I love how you're saying you've got this consciousness that around it, where you're like, no, I got to remind myself. So what does the thought process look like on a day-to-day basis? How do you do that for yourself, where you're able to kind of check in on yourself, hold yourself accountable, perhaps?
Yeah. So. We have level 10 meetings once a week with management teams, where we load numbers in a scorecard and they report either red or green. And then if they're red, we zone in and focus on why they're red and what is their one task that week to report back the next week that they can go back to the store and do that would make a difference in them turning green the next week.
Yeah.
So we're very, very zoned in on only focusing on one thing each week to report back to the next meeting.
The traction process, which
she's like,
yes.
Somebody named it.
EOS. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Is a there's a whole ecosystem, and some people follow it to the T. It sounds like you are probably a bop bop bop. We got rocks. We got we got 14 days, 7 days.
Yes.
You got the whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
But what?
I needed that. That's what organized me.
Is that what? Yeah. So that kind of you found a place there, and you were able to give your team that as a resource that actually gave you you are now a better resource to them in their efforts.
And it helps them hold their team accountable, and it goes all the way down. Everybody's really bought it and loves it. But as those thoughts keep filtering, I have a brain dump in Monday.com, and it's literally a brain dump, right? And then I just put people's names next to it, and they're kind of placeholders for us to talk about, so I can get it out of my head somewhere, organize it, and review that on our.
Do you project manage with Monday in the dealership?
Yes.
This is. Paul, we're going to Georgia, wherever you're. No, we're going to Boston because I got to see this in action. So because a lot of Cirillo knows exactly what Monday is, and there's a couple people that especially are on the tech side that know what things like Monday and Asana or ClickUp or any of those are, but utilizing that for the dealership to be able to run fast. What was the change management to get that type of thing in place? Because that's not you have to pay some attention and do some diligence on a weekly basis to be dialed into deadlines.
Lots of Post-it notes, but in one place.
Yes, yeah. I told you I need it for my brain dump, right? So I'm like, okay, low priority, but I had to get it out of my head and out there for you to know that it exists and it's in the background, and at some point you need to focus on it.
Yeah. What's the size and scale?
My team, I'm sure, is listening they roll their eyes at because they keep in 2 a.m.
I'm coming to work for you. I didn't know that dealerships.
Carla's on Monday again, But
Cirillo and I just quit our day jobs, and we're like, we're going to work for a dealership.
And here's my CV.
Yeah, exactly. No, so. Oh man, I had a question, but I'm excited. She's like Traction Monday. I'm like, okay, what's next? Yeah, it's great. Well, but in that, because one, I'd like to ask 2 questions, and so the second question is kind of what's the size and scale of your operation? Because I think that's important to kind of understanding how those people move in and through that process. But what does it take? Because when you look at the car business, and it's not altogether like a tech company or someone that you would typically say those people use a Monday, right? Those people use project management because there are things that are constantly coming, and customers, and the way that kind of the business moves is not in dev sprints or project management typically. So how do you keep things being able to flow in and out those moves, but also keep everyone on task in that way?
Well, we have almost 180 employees.
Okay.
Not everybody's engaged in Monday.
Sure,
only certain teams are. But yeah, I mean, I use it just like you said. I literally brain dump in it, put it in there, prioritize it, assign it to somebody, put my notes in it, and then I follow up through that. And I found that that's so much more efficient than just shooting off emails and burying everybody's inbox and everyone spending time going through their emails, and it gets lost and I forgot about it. And it really helps me focus in on my one-on-one meetings because they're scheduled. I have topics I want to discuss. I go through them. They're prioritized by the person. So it really has helped me just dial in on that. And, the problem is, again, back to EOS, right? We would have these meetings, but we didn't have, it'd be like, great, how's it going? How are your numbers? Okay, what's the problem? Now they're very, I guess, detailed and on topic.
Yeah.
It's...
You were the one that found Monday? You're the one that brought Monday to the table?
I'm the crazy person that stayed up all night long and ran into Nick's office the next morning and was like, look what I built. He's like, great. Great. We're moving everything to Monday. Perfect.
So my question, kind of going based off of what Kyle was getting at with the change management, how do you introduce... I find one of the most difficult things to do with a team, especially I can't imagine a team with 180 people or however many teams inside of the organization are using it, is getting the buy-in, introducing the new software and then getting the buy-in from those teams to use it. What did that look like?
It's been a difficult, long process. I think EOS really helped with that because we started at the very baseline and we built accountability charts for everybody. And I think our employees were longing for that, right? What's my job? What's my job description? What's expected out of me? And how do I know if I'm doing a good or bad job? So when they saw that software and we started building off of that, and
it's another layer.
Another
EOS,
layer.
The beauty of it is it already puts oh man, we're gonna put on a masterclass. It's gonna be great. We're gonna do it for auto. And I was introduced to this by my previous owners when I was in the store. But what's so beautiful about it is it puts a structure around a responsibility, and then it actually tells the team that everybody's responsible for whatever thing it is, not throughout the week, but like when you come to the meeting. So when you start thinking about project management and the way that like a Monday works, or anything that is project management, Asana, ClickUp, anything that you might want to use, you start, like, everybody has visibility into certain projects, but only certain people are assigned to due dates on that. So like what I think the EOS structure actually lends itself to that, especially because of like the timelines, the deadlines, the quarterly, and then the weekly type goals. And then I think that's actually the software then supported the process, which is what's so beautiful about that, because I think that's always, it's people, process, software, and there's a support matrix there that you've done.
Yeah, you nailed it. And I think once people start to see it work, they automatically just buy in, right? So like with EOS, since everybody's so committed to it and believes so much in it, when you bring in a software like Monday, they're like, oh, okay, all right, I can see this. This doesn't belong on my to-dos in EOS, but this is the direction or the vision or where we're trying to go long term.
What have you seen out of that? And it sounds like you're still kind of like, I mean, that's always a continual process, right? You're still working and how long is that, first of all? When did you kind of start implementing both of those things?
EOS has been a year.
Okay.
And Monday's been maybe 6 months.
Okay. So that's enough time to see like what have been some of like the cool finding or results that have come out of some of those processes that you put in
Accountability has been huge. And I think employee satisfaction has been huge because of it, because these, the employees would be like, great, you hire someone, you're like, great, you're a customer service manager now. And it's like, okay, what do I do? What am I reporting on? What's the process? What does that look like? Now it's like, great, this is where you sit on the accountability chart. Here's who you answer to. These are like the 5 revenue generating activities that you're responsible for, and here's a scorecard that goes with those. And every week we're going to talk about it, and we're going to make sure that you're successful in this position by all of us supporting you. It's our responsibility to make sure that we set you up for success, and here's what it looks like. So people come in like, wow, this is great. Oh, you have a process right in EOS, go right under. So I think people feel relieved, and I think people in dealerships long for that. I think that's the biggest thing missing out of car dealerships. You come in and you're a salesperson, it's like, great, here's your desk, sit down, make phone calls, and find customers. But it doesn't work like that anymore.
What I love about this is like you when you start getting an inside kind of look at other organizations that don't have this type of structure, and you hear the sentiment of not just employees, the whole team, leadership team, right down to whatever the entry level positions are. That's one of their biggest worries, is they don't know if they're actually doing a good job. Mm-hmm. On the flip side of that, leadership sometimes is prone to changing their mind about things 87,000 times a day.
Stop.
And so now all of a sudden you have this same tool, this unified system where everybody's being held accountable, not just employees, but leadership team alike, for employees to be like, but wait, you keep changing your mind. We're shooting at a target that keeps moving. This doesn't feel good either. So I love that. I think more dealerships need to be.
It is the ultimate expression of care, in my opinion.
100%.
Which is like, most people wouldn't be like, put a whole bunch of structure in place. That's caring.
Yeah.
But actually, like, if you think about it from a child's perspective, right? Structure is caring. Don't go in the road is caring. Actually, like, do your homework so that you can succeed is caring. And those are some of the things that, like, putting structures like this, whether it be technology or just processes, are extremely caring for both your organization and your people more deeply. So I'm excited.
We care about you. Hope you fail.
Best of luck. There's your desk. There's a phone. Good luck.
Gonna make it as ambiguous as possible. Love ya. Bye.
Doesn't his voice sound better in a mic for some reason?
It does,
I don't know what it is.
actually.
It's wild, Well, hey, I'm just excited and grateful that Glenn Lundy introduced us like 33 minutes ago, and we were able to say, hey, because I think that more dealers, this conversation is going to encourage and prod to put in, whether or not they put in a software, but continue to dial in processes, write it down, make it plain. And you're a living, breathing example of like an early phase of that, because there are struggles and there are moves and there are things that have to happen to make that a sustainable process. But thanks for coming on and hanging out with us a little while.
Thank you guys so much for having me. That was fun. I appreciate it.
Good.
I love that after they met 33 minutes ago, they both abruptly opened the Monday.com app on their phone and put this podcast as a to-do for due date 33 minutes.
Thanks for watching this episode of In the Dirt with ASOTU. If you're new to our channel, make sure and mash that like and subscribe button. Also, check out some of these links for our other great podcasts and content.